There is a bush that burns and is never consumed. There is a voice that speaks from fire, and does not destroy the one who hears it. And there is a man, broken, exiled, forgotten, standing on the backside of a desert, tending someone else's sheep, convinced that his best days are behind him. And God chose that exact moment to change everything. This is the story of Moses and the burning bush. And it is not simply a story about one man's calling. It is a story about the God who sees suffering, who remembers his promises, and who specializes in calling the most unlikely people to accomplish the most impossible things. Moses had a complicated history. He was born a Hebrew slave in Egypt, but raised in Pharaoh's palace as a prince. He had education, power, and privilege. He saw the suffering of his people and burned with a desire to help them. And one day, acting in his own strength, he killed an Egyptian taskmaster who was beating a Hebrew slave. The next day, his own people rejected him. Pharaoh sought his life. And Moses fled into the wilderness, from prince to fugitive in 24 hours. 40 years passed. 40 years of silence. 40 years of desert. 40 years of tending flocks on the far side of Midian. The man who had once walked the corridors of the most powerful empire on earth was now completely alone with sheep in silence. Maybe you know that feeling. The feeling that your moment has passed, that your failure disqualified you, that God has moved on and left you behind in your own private wilderness. Moses was 80 years old when God appeared to him in a flame of fire from the middle of a bush. The bush was burning, but it was not being consumed. And Moses said, "I will turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burned." One decision: to turn aside, to stop, to pay attention, to investigate the extraordinary in the middle of the ordinary. And when God saw that Moses turned aside to look, God called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses." And he said, "Here I am, Lord." "Take off your sandals," God said, "for the place where you are standing is holy ground." The ground was not holy because of where it was. It was holy because of who was there. The presence of God transforms ordinary ground into sacred space. A desert becomes a sanctuary. A moment of failure becomes a moment of commission. And then God spoke words that shook the foundations of heaven and earth. "I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them." God saw, God heard, God knew, God came down. Write those 4 words in your heart. Whatever wilderness you are walking through right now, God sees it. He hears your cry. He knows your suffering. And He has not abandoned you. He has come down. And then God said, "Come, I will send you to Pharaoh that you may bring my people out of Egypt." And Moses, this man who had once been bold enough to take matters into his own hands, suddenly had every excuse in the world. "Who am I to go to Pharaoh? What if they do not believe me? I am not eloquent, I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. Please send someone else." For excuses, for moments of self-doubt. 4 times, God answered every single one of them. Because here is what God understood that Moses had not yet grasped. The call was never about Moses. It was never about his eloquence or his confidence or his qualifications. It was about the God who was sending him. And when Moses asked, "Who shall I say sent me?" God answered with the most profound declaration of identity in all of Scripture. "I am who I am. Tell them I am has sent you. I am the self-existent one, the one who needs nothing and no one to define him, the one who was and is to come, the eternal present tense. Not I was, not I will be, I am." Now travel forward through the centuries once more. Jesus stood in the temple courts in Jerusalem and said to the religious leaders, "Before Abraham was, I am." They picked up stones to kill him, because they understood exactly what he had just claimed. He had taken the divine name, the name spoken from the burning bush, and placed it upon himself. The I am of the burning bush and the I am of the Gospels are one and the same. And consider this: Moses encountered God in a bush that burned with fire and was not consumed. A bush surrounded by flame, alive in the midst of destruction. Jesus would one day enter into the full consuming fire of God's judgment against sin, and emerge from the tomb unconsumed. Death could not hold him. The grave could not consume him. He passed through the fire of Calvary and rose in the glory of resurrection morning. The burning bush was a picture of the cross, and of the empty tomb. And the God who called Moses from that bush is the same God who is calling you today. Not because you are qualified. Not because you have no past. Not because you have never failed or fled or hidden yourself away in a private wilderness. He calls you because He is I am. And I am is enough. Whatever excuse you are holding on to right now, God has already answered it. Whatever failure you think disqualifies you, He already knew about it before He called your name. Take off your sandals. You are standing on holy ground. The presence of God has come to where you are, in your desert, in your silence, in your most ordinary moment. Turn aside. Pay attention. Listen. I am is calling. If this encounter with the living God has stirred something in you today, I invite you to share it with someone who is hiding in their own wilderness right now. Someone who needs to hear that God still calls the unqualified. I invite you to subscribe to the Audio Pulpit and join us as we walk through the Word of God together. This is the Audio Pulpit. Biblical truth, engaging stories, global impact. Shalom.